Okay, so I think I've recorded about 6 videos, and this is going to be the last one. And this one I hold near and dear to my heart. The other ones were easy to record. This one isn't necessarily. Not because the content is difficult, but mostly because of potentially the lack of agreement, and that's okay. As a scientist, I expect people to disagree, but this has been my research, and from my research, this is what I've discovered. So what I'm going to talk about is why the liberation of Black men will heal the world. When we look at the history of mankind, if we wanted to consider the most oppressed people that have existed, from what I can see, it is the Black man, the Black male. And this comes from several different ideas in my head, of what I would call them being oppressed, from slavery, from this lack of ability to protect their families because they were so badly broken down to be emasculated. Y'all know what the word is, but for their masculinity to be taken away, right? Then coming down through the generations, how if a child was growing, and they were going to be bigger than the parents, how that child had to be broken down so that they could respect the parents, without parents realizing that respect comes from the love that you give a child, and that respect comes when you give respect to the child. The child is going to give it back because they're going to imitate the love and respect that you show to them. So Black men were beaten down, and that's another form of that loss of masculinity, right? Then they're told not to cry. Then they're raised in a household where they see other Black men that don't show emotion, except for anger, and that's supposed to be a sign of masculinity or machoism or whatever you want to call it. And so when truly inside it's okay to cry, and it's difficult too, and so that anger has to go somewhere, and it usually exists. It comes from outside of people. It comes out, or it's internalized and it damages self. But then I think for me, one of the biggest challenges for Black men, and for men in general, because it's across the board, is that for a man, their sense of attraction is based on how someone looks. Where a woman can sit down with a man who would be considered less attractive and, have a good conversation with him, and he stimulates her mind and she's like, oh yeah, I can get with this, For a man, he's first attracted to what he sees. And that instantly is, hey, I want to get with that. And so with our world the way it is, and with the dress that is popular for today, which I would deem as promiscuous only because I don't wear it, but with so many women walking around with clothing that exposes so much of them, our Black men are, after having had their masculinity removed, are on a very primal level, as that might be or may not be the right word, having to subdue those emotions that they have come up as far as attraction is concerned towards a woman. And so when you're oppressed in so many ways, those emotions have to come out somewhere. So much anger, so much pain and hurt and frustration, it comes out somewhere. Or again, as I said, it's internalized. And so when we see Black marriages failing, there's a reason. When we see Black men choosing white women, there's a reason. I didn't even address like molestation of Black men. I'm not saying that it's not horrifying for women, but what happens between a man and a woman is natural for those who are heterosexual. It's not for a man to a man, especially a male child, when that is not their when that's not their preference, when perhaps they don't even know and haven't even identified their sexuality. It's not natural. And so this is not, you can take it how you want it. I know how I meant it and I know how it should come across. So if you get offended by me saying that, then I understand. I honor that. I respect that. But I think everybody knows what I mean. And so when Black men are inundated with all these things, it makes me think of, there's a quote, and it says something to the effect of, the speed of the convoy is determined by its slowest vessel. Or basically, the convoy can only go as fast as its slowest vessel. And so when we see all these things happening in the world where it seems like things are getting worse, we've had this pandemic, people are suffering from mental illness, people aren't taking care of their mental health. When we see all these things happening and we look at the Black man, he's the one that's getting inundated the most with all of these things. And until the resources are poured into the community where Black men are hit the worst, then I truly believe the nation's going to get worse. It's not that they're not resilient. This has nothing to do with resilience or perseverance or anything else. This has to do with our nation flipping in a different direction entirely than where it's going. So don't get me wrong, because I love me some brothers. All day, every day, light, bright, and dark as night. Okay? I say the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice, but being light is dynamite, okay? I love being a Black woman. I love me some Black brothers in all shades and colors and flavors and everything. And I will admit that that was not true at one point. That probably did not come to me and be that way until I was in my 30s. And I've already admitted that I went to school. My senior year was in 1990 and 1991. And so that is, so I'm saying something. I've spent more of my life being very attracted to a whole other culture than I have to my own. But now that I've been converted, they say once you go Black, you can't go back. Hey, that's me. Woo! After I had those experiences of self-love and yes, once I had that and I looked at myself and I saw who God was seeing and who God was working to create. Yeah. And now I look at Black men and I'm just like, oh, I used to be offended by them, and it breaks my heart that I was, because they would come at me, and I'm not saying like I'm all that and I got hit on all the time, but when I did have those experiences, it was always like, oh, I just think about what I could do to you. And I'm just like, ew, that's so gross. I'm not like that. And I'm not, but what it made me realize was that there was nobody in any other culture had done that for me. No, well, there was one person who they took. I was working when I lived in Hawaii. I was working and as a tour guide, and I was dressed in a a cultural outfit, a Hawaiian representing the Hawaiian culture, mind you. But I had a flower in my hair, and this gentleman just said, "Can I take a picture of you?" And he was from Europe, and I was like, "Sure." And so he took a picture of me. He's like, "So beautiful." He showed me the picture. He's like, "So beautiful." But like, I don't remember many experiences like that from people from, other cultures, but Black men all the time. And I realized that they helped me to develop my sense of self-worth and helped me to recognize how beautiful I was to their eye, even if it wasn't to anybody else's. And so I have great love and appreciation for that. And I've stopped being offended since then. I am not giving away the Gucci, but I don't just give away the Gucci, but I'll take the compliment in a heartbeat. And so my work especially is for Black men and Black families, because I have a young Black male superhero and he needs superheroes to look up to too. And I'm just grateful for all the experiences that I have with them and the ways that we can show each other respect and love. And I just thank you for listening. This is the end of the series. Let's talk about oppression. Now, join the discussion. Peace.